Albert's dad, that's all there is to it. He's like family to everybody.
That's a man called Tony from just outside of Buffalo, New York. And the Albert he's referring to is this guy. An 11-foot long, 750-pound, blind 34-year-old alligator that he got at an Ohio reptile show back in 1990. That's quite the dating profile.
He was 2 months old when I got him. He was captive born. He don't know nothing but people his whole life.
Tony even built up this extension onto his home to give Albert a habitat. Not every lease includes an alligator annex, after all. But that's not where you'd find Albert today, because authorities in upstate New York descended upon Tony's home last week to seize this pet alligator.
My yard's swarmed with DEC cars. They're up the road.
So Tony has had a license to own the decades-old gator, but it apparently expired back in September of 2021. And Tony claims he wasn't able to get this thing renewed by New York's Department of Environmental Conservation.
They would not answer me, so this is on them.
Last week, agents with the Conservation Department showed up to Tony's place, seized the 11-foot-long, 750-pound, blind 34-year-old gator, and took it away in the back of a van, a task that appears to have required the talents of more than half a dozen men.
It was really upsetting how it was handled.
That's a neighbor who saw the whole thing go down.
And then they loaded Albert into the back of the cargo van and just laid him in there.
They wouldn't let me out here to see him taking him out of here.
On Facebook, New York's Environmental Conservation Department confirmed that they seized Albert in the interest of public safety and for the health, safety, and protection of the alligator. They also allege that Tony allowed members of the public to get into the water to pet the unsecured alligator. Tony admits kids posed for pictures in the pool, but not very often.
And they got right out and we dried him off and whatever.
He's not having alligator get-togethers or parties, and he's just a neighbor, and he's a really nice guy, and he loves that alligator and treats it really, really well.
Community members, like Tony's neighbor there, are rallying to his defense. In one small way, Albert's become something of a minor fashion icon. No, not a French fashion icon, that's a crocodile, but at least as he's depicted in this shirt here. And in that Facebook post from the Conservation Department, which now has hundreds of comments, the hashtag #FreeAlbert is flowing freely. Lila Worley called it a sad situation. David Robert Gray noted he allegedly allowed members of the public to get into the water to pet the unsecured alligator. He looks well fed. And Dennis Miller urged agents to please release him or her in a large city. Now, as pointed out by the New York Times, while Tony did have an Albert license that expired in 2021, the state's Environmental Conservation Department adopted new regulations that pertain to dangerous pets like these in 2020. And they claim that while they informed Tony of some safety changes he'd have to make, he didn't make them. That includes, according to Tony, having to drop 15 grand to put a fence in around his yard and acquire some additional zoo insurance. Maybe that insurance gecko could help out his fellow reptile in getting those costs down. But until then, authorities say a licensed caretaker will be in charge of Albert until they figure out a permanent solution, as he's not only blind, but they say he's got spinal problems too. The Conservation Department is also considering charges against Tony, who, as of right now, just appears to want his gator back. Authorities are still looking into this whole thing, but as of right now, see you later, alligator.